Welcome back, guys. Welcome to the channel. And the story begins with me buying this car about 5 months ago. I bought this car from a very rational perspective. And to be frank, guys, many of my car purchases haven't been that logical, that rational, that factual in a way. My car, my GR Yaris, replaced my BMW M235i, which was probably one of the most emotional purchases I've ever made. I was in a tough period of my life, and I thought that was the best decision for me to take. And, to be frank, it was nice to experience that car, but it got to a stage where the repairs and the maintenance bills and the depreciation was just too much for me. That was probably one of the only cars I've purchased that was so emotionally charged. But the GR Yaris, I went in the opposite direction where it's very rationally charged. And what do I mean by that? Well, when I sold my BMW, I was sick of the repairs and the maintenance, right? So I had a few criteria. I needed my next car to be within warranty, because, I know Toyotas and Hondas are good outside of warranty. I've owned many of them. But still, when you've got an older car, things can go wrong. And with any car, right, things can go wrong. I was very much focused on having the next car be in warranty. So that was one of my criteria. The second criteria was depreciation. My BMW, guys, depreciated heavily. And most luxury cars will depreciate heavily regardless of your buy point, right? And I really wanted to make sure that my next car didn't depreciate. So that was a huge factor, right? The next factor was age. Now, what I learned with my BMW was about 8 to 9 years old, is that a lot of stuff comes up. You have to worry about transmission fluids, you have to worry about coolant changes, brakes, everything, all those consumables, belts, plastic bits, right? With BMW especially, they come up. I wanted a car that was fresh, right? I like driving. Fundamentally, I like doing canyon runs, mountain runs, and I needed a car that was tight and its suspension was tight. So that meant I couldn't go too old. And, I obviously needed something fun as well. It all pointed towards the GR Yaris. There was nothing like it, right? I was cross-shopping the Civic Type R, but in my budget I could only afford the FK8 Type R, which would be outside of warranty, right? The FL5 is a beautiful car, but the FK8 was something I'd be able to afford, but it would have more mileage, be outside of warranty, and be older, right? So really, I ended up with the Toyota GR Yaris, despite test driving it and not enjoying the test drive, so much so that I did 2 test drives, right? And I said to myself that the GR Yaris was going to be an in-between car, right? I've got projects going on in my personal life, which means that financially I'm pretty packed. It was always meant to be that car that got me through that period, and then I would get the next car, which, to be honest, guys, I'm a big fan of the Civic Type R. So I thought about it from that perspective, but here's why I'm not ready to sell my car, right? And there's a few things I want to discuss. The very first thing is that social media will make you feel as if you've got to change up your car every month. On TikTok, YouTube, wherever it is, they're changing a car or getting a new car, it seems, every 2 months. They're getting parts, it seems, every week. They're making mods almost every week as well. It's crazy. And to be honest, guys, most people in real life don't live like that, right? And my viewers are regular, normal people, and I'm sure that you guys don't live like that. And it's from an affordability perspective, but also a time perspective. I seriously do not have time. I'm an engineer, I've got a full-time job. I don't have time to get car mods and have them installed. Taking my car to a workshop or doing it at myself, it just makes no sense. So that's one of the things where I think social media has really made expectations where people think they need to change their car, freshen it up almost on a weekly basis. I don't want to conform to that. The second thing is cost. As I said, I've got some stuff going on, a few projects I'm working on, and I think a lot of people, they take car enthusiasm or this hobby as something that has to be all-encompassing. They look at it just through its own singular lens. And life isn't like that, right? Life has a bunch of different items you need to worry about. You've got family, you've got your career, you've got your other businesses and ventures you're working on. It can't just be all about your car. So I'm not quite ready to sell my GR Yaris because I am more focused on some of those other things. The third point is how this car makes me feel. I got this car from a very calculated perspective. I was very logical and rational about it, more so than my other cars. And I think every car that I buy, I am quite logical. My other car is a Toyota, and I buy that because of depreciation. It's a hybrid, so the petrol savings, and I chose that over an EV because I don't like the unproven EV technology. The residuals are good. So I do have that logical mix in there, but I also apply some emotions. I think the GR Yaris was the first car where I really put a lot of my emotions aside and chose a car that was very logically beneficial. Obviously, it's not too logical because if I was thinking from a purely rational perspective, I'd be driving a regular Yaris, right? It depreciates less, it costs you less to service, all of that jazz. But I am a car enthusiast. I've got to work within the car enthusiast confines. That said, the GR Yaris is an interesting car. It grows on you slowly. And I said to you that I had to test drive it twice because I wasn't too impressed. And coming from a BMW, especially a 6-cylinder BMW that I had, I think it's always going to be this way. But once you start pushing this car and taking it into the canyons and mountains and really start living with it, the charm of it comes through. First of all, it's a Toyota and it has great residuals. Now, even though that's a logical and rational thing, it adds to you loving the car. I like it every day where I think, oh, I'd like to upgrade. Then I think, look, I've got options, man. I can hold on to this car and upgrade whenever I want. It's not as if it's sitting there and taking all the value away, which is what my BMW did. It's also under warranty, but it's a Toyota, right? So it doesn't really have repairs I need to tend to. That frees up my time, that gives me more mental, emotional space, and it makes me feel confident about the product, which therefore makes me love it a bit more. The next thing is the character of the car, right? And that's why it's been a slow burn. The character of the car is such, guys, where if you're driving it to work or to the gym, it's not gonna feel super special, it feels like a regular Yaris. You take it into the canyons, and it's more special than any car I've ever driven. I've driven a bunch of cars. Supra, BMW M, BMW M Lights, Subaru STIs, Porsche. I've driven so many cars. But the GR Yaris, when you're in the canyons, one of the examples, guys, is I was in the mountains and the car was really hot and warmed up. At 7,000 redline, the cylinders are buzzing and you can feel them through your steering wheel. It's a feeling I've never felt before. I could really feel the pistons going up and down, right? And the car was alive and it was buzzing. I was driving, I was thinking, geez, what is this feeling? I've never had it before. It's as if my steering was attached to the engine, despite the fact that this car has 3 engine mounts, right? One of them being hydraulic. So that really starts to get to you. The way it takes corners with its all-wheel drive system, especially in track mode, it's, it straight up defies any sort of logic. The way the car understeers on you, right? In a very progressive way. So if you're taking a corner, you get 4-wheel understeer if you've pushed the car too far. And the car will just do it slowly and say, hey, look, this is my limits and I'm going to start washing out now. And it's all controllable. It's as if it's happening in slow motion. I've never felt that in a car before, right? I'm sure there's really good cars out there like the high-end Porsches and stuff, which we'll get to that level. But the GR Yaris, the way it makes you feel around the corners, it's immaculate. All the work that Akio Toyota, Tommy Mäkinen, what they did, you could feel it, guys. It's just thinking about it now, I've got goosebumps in terms of the transformation this car makes. And because of that, guys, it's really grown on me. And it's sad because I do want to sell it because I'm in a young phase of my car journey and I really can't afford a full garage. And for me to get the next car, I have to sell my car. And I'd really like to try a Civic Type R because the FL5 is a car that I've wanted to own for a long time. But the GR Yaris has made it very difficult to me where if today you came up to me, right, and you said, here's the extra cash you need to go get yourself the FL5 Type R, go and do it. I would honestly take a rain check on that. I would say to you, you know what, I'm not quite done with the GR Yaris. I'm not quite ready to level up. None of my cars have done that for me. My BMW, if you'd offered me extra money and told me to get an M, I'd do it immediately because I had an M Light. My MX-5, he offered me extra money, told me to get a BMW, I would have done it ASAP. Any of the cars I've owned, you gave me that extra bit of money and said, get the next car, I would have done it. But it's not the case with the GR Yaris. And I don't know when I'll be ready to sell it, right? As I said, I've got stuff going on. So financially, I'm not in a place or a position where I can see myself getting a car that's more expensive. But I don't know if a year is going to be enough or 2 years is going to be enough with this car, right? Which is very peculiar. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you next time.